Hello and welcome. I'm going to be doing a painting today, or I should say I'll be starting a painting today. But I'm going to do this one a little bit different. This video is going to have me painting, but also I will be doing some Bible stuff in the video too. And that probably sounds like an interesting and unusual combination. I've got my palette ready. I've got the basic colors that I'm using: yellow, red, blue, white, and that's a whole lot of brown that I mixed up for something else, but I'm saving it on my palette because it's a nice color for me to use to mix with other things, and I'll use it to start off the sketch that I'm doing. And in case you are wondering what I'm going to be painting today, it will be a shell. You can see it there on the table. I will try to make it nice and big. Why a shell? Why a shell? Uh, I'm still thinking about that. It might be something. It might be not anything, but we'll see. I don't know about you. Have you ever been thinking about, what does God want you to do specifically, like today, right now? What is something that God wants you to do? I think about that. And maybe you do too. So I've had this idea on my mind for maybe half of a month as what I was going to do after September was over, because I had something else I was working on in September. So far, what I've got for this idea is I wrote down the word remember or remembrance. And you can think of a shell. When you think about a shell, you probably think about memories of going to the beach, or maybe you think about, well, what used to live inside of that shell? I think about that a little bit. I don't think about it a lot, but what did live here in the shell before it was what it is now? So I thought the word remember kind of fits with that. And then I wanted to show the light shining through the shell from behind. Partly because that's an interesting lighting, but also, I don't know, it seems to maybe add to the meaning. And so anyway, going back to that idea of like trying to figure out what does God want you to do, and does it make sense? Does it not make sense? There are some things, that we all know. It's like, oh yes, I know, God wants me to do this, or God doesn't want me to do that. I read it in the Bible, or I heard somebody say it was in the Bible. But if you just heard somebody say it was in the Bible, please do check and make sure it actually is there, because I know that a lot of times that we misquote things, or we take it out of context and it's like, oh, wait a minute. Actually, it doesn't really say that, or it says something similar to that, but maybe not exactly that thing. Yeah. So these days I'm thinking about What does God want me to paint? But you might be thinking about, what does God want me to study in school? Or should I be taking this particular job? It's not like good, it's not bad exactly. It's just, what is the opportunity? And we're always trying to listen and figure out what it is. I think that it's easy to want a quick answer. To think, oh, I just want to know, like, really quick. God, can you just tell me, like, really quickly whatever it is? Can you tell me in 2 seconds? And then, like, I've got it from there. But it doesn't really work like that, because we end up treating God as if he's not a living being who's actually interested in being with us, like us getting to know him getting to know us, kind of thing. Whereas he really is interested in those things. Thinking, mixing some background. I'm starting with some background. I think a lot of the background's going to be lighter than the shell itself. That's why I'm staying almost white here, and then I'll just see as I go along if I'm adjusting it more. I like that. That's not nearly enough. But I feel like kind of just starting there. Why not? Let's play around with it. I'm gonna feel my way through the picture here. So anyway, speaking of feeling my way through the picture, right? As we spend more time with God and then kind of feel our way into that relationship with him, sometimes we think, oh, well, God doesn't talk to me. Oh, that can't happen. Only certain people hear from God, which is not really the case. If we really do want to hear from God, God is speaking all the time through his words. His words, like the Bible. Oh, yeah. That's right. And we shouldn't discount that as nothing. Like, oh, well, I read my Bible, but I didn't hear anything from God. Well, but you did. You did. And then maybe you're thinking, but I didn't hear anything specific. Exactly. That's related to me. Sometimes you have to take a bit more time with it. To hear. Take the time to hear. And if you don't hear right away, okay, keep reading and keep listening. And don't give up on that so quickly. Like in our current times, we think, oh, well, I should be able to do everything super quick. But if you've ever tried to learn something new, you're not actually an expert in 5 minutes. We just kind of have that expectation nowadays, like, oh, in I'm gonna if I don't already know how to do something, then I'm never gonna be any good at it. But that's not really how we learn. That's not how it works. Just like I'm making this painting now, but it's not quick. It takes a long time to make the painting, but it also takes a long time to learn how to make the painting. And it's not like I'm done learning either. Like if you see some of my finished paintings and you're thinking, wow, teacher, I'm thinking of my former students, and if you are listening and you're a former student, hello. But maybe you think, wow, like it looks fantastic. But that doesn't mean that I, who am making this, I'm not learning anything anymore. I am actually. And the same thing applies to the Bible and listening to God. That if you practice it more, you get more out of it. But if you want an instant answer, that may not happen. Especially if you always want an instant answer. And you're like, just tell me in 2 seconds, boom. So be patient. And yes, I understand that patience is hard. Because one time, when I was in college, I would sometimes I would have these like word of the year things, and I'm thinking, okay, God, this year the word is patience. I want patience. Well, you know what happens when you ask for patience? God will give you something to be patient about. Okay, see there, I'm running out of my color, and it's still spread kind of thin too. Okay, so God will give you something to be patient about if you're asking for patience. But then you might think, well, then I shouldn't ask for patience. Also, not true. Not true. Because there are important things we will not have learned. It's like saying, if you're a little baby and you don't learn how to walk the first time that you try to walk, oh, forget it. I'm not going to try to walk. I will just, sit down and I will crawl for the rest of my life. So there's a benefit that gets gained even though it takes patience and it takes perseverance in it. Yeah. Yeah, so that's funny, right? So God gave me things to wait for. Like, okay, then you're asking for patience. Those things that you want, you're not going to get them right now. And then I'm thinking, don't. Why did I do that? Why did I ask to learn patience? But in the long run, what it does help with is then you gain that sense of like, oh, that's right. I can be patient, and it doesn't mean that things are not going to happen. It just means that it's not the right time for something to happen, and it's okay for it not to be the right time yet. Because we all think, oh, well, right now is always the right time. Whatever it is that I want right now, that's the time for it, is now. But perhaps you've also experienced something or you've seen something. Maybe it's easier to see it in somebody else's life where somebody wants something, but you know they shouldn't have it right now. Like if you have a little brother or sister or little niece, nephew, cousin, whatever, and they want candy right now. It's always right now for that. It's like, candy? Oh. But you are a little bit older and actually that's not really a good idea to always have candy right now. That you have to eat healthy, and that way you keep better health, right? Because what if the kid always got the candy right now and they never ate healthy food? Oh, bad news. Then they have poor health. It will happen. Okay. Putting on a bit more of this white, or it's not exactly white, it's like an off-white, but I might change it later as I'm going along too. I'll probably will darken it some, because if you have too much just white in the painting, it the contrast, the value contrast might get to be too much here, which I kind of suspect it may. Take some of this down here. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to go for some of this inside of the shell. There's an area that is glowing where the sunlight is shining through it. But I have to see what value to make that, how light or how dark to make it, because it won't be as light as the background, it will be darker than the background. But the chroma, whatever, it will be brighter or I should say more saturated. It will be more saturated, but a bit darker. I've got a color here, but I think it's a little too yellow right now. And let me think what it needs to be. Value checker. I think at least a 3, maybe a 4. Let's see what I've got. Yeah, this, I think I can start with this. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's brightening it up. It's rather yellow. I think it still needs a little more red to make it a little bit more orange there. Okay, and then the other part of the shell is a white shell, but it will be darker than the background. That's a fun thing about um, painting and lighting, is that even though something is white and something else is white, like the paper that the shell is sitting on is white and the shell is also white, but the shell is darker due to the lighting. And it's darker than that. So it will be, I'm thinking I'm going to start with maybe, I'm going to maybe try to go for a 6 here. But that will be too brown. It needs a bit more blue in it. Okay, and as I am mixing and applying this color, there's something else that I enjoy doing, and it's something that it's like a Bible habit I have grown the past couple of years, where people might say, "Oh, that it's kind of a silly thing because it's not a do the Bible in order and a this and a that." There's, but to me, it's really fun and it's exciting. Yes, I know that sounds kind of nerdy, but I enjoy it, where I just flip open the Bible to whatever I flip it open to. I ask God, show me something, show me something. And so I will, I'll pray to God, just show me whatever you want to show me. And then I'll flip open the Bible and I'll read that. So anyway, I think that's a fun thing that I like to do. It's important, of course, to make sure that you're talking to God and not, not all of a sudden be like, "Oh, you know, God said this to me because I flipped it open to this page and I'm going to totally take it out of context, and it's not even going to be it's really not what God said to me at all," or something, so you have I have to be careful about recommending that exactly, but to me it's really fun. And if God does speak to you that way, then good, because I've definitely had times that God has spoken to me that way, where it points to that verse and it's like, wow, God, you are amazing, because that is exactly what I should be hearing right now. So anyway, I am going to do that. I don't have any verse pre-planned for that, right? Aren't you supposed to always have things pre-planned that you're going to say? Okay, I didn't have anything pre-planned for what I was going to say. Okay. Okay, this color is, I'm not totally happy with it, but, oh, and it's way too light. Okay, let's try. Add some more. Add some more. Okay. That's why I have to have this value checker, right? Because if I don't, I I won't get, sometimes I'm way off on the value that I want. Okay, okay, I'm closer, but it's still too light. Too light. Okay, let's see where I'm getting to. Oh, that's a lot better. I think I'm going to say a little bit more red. And then I will just use that as the basic color, but modulate it from there. Okay, so anyway, though, while I'm doing this, ta-da, Bible. Yes, that's my bookmark, but I won't turn there. I'll pick somewhere else. That's the book of Job that I have it on right now because that's where I'm studying more in depth. So, and that's always a good thing. Definitely can recommend that one, is studying a book more in depth. But let's pick. It's like a raffle prize, right? It's like, but you win every time. You win every time. Okay, guess what? It's Judges chapter 8, Gideon's ephod. You probably have heard of Gideon. Ah, yes. Oh, yeah, that caused a big problem. If you guys don't know it, I recommend that. Um, it's what happened after Gideon, and you know that famous part with the defeat where they didn't really even have to go to battle. Okay, and if you haven't heard of that one and you're like, wait, I kind of remember Gideon, but I kind of don't remember, then yeah, Judges chapter 7 and 8 are great for that. Okay, but as per my random reading, which I know I can't really like brush all of this on while I'm reading. But let's do it. Okay. Okay. Then the men of Israel said to Gideon, this is afterwards, rule over us, both you and your son and your grandson also, for you have delivered us from the hand of Midian. But Gideon said to them, I will not rule over you, nor shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you. So that's a great start from Gideon, because he's acknowledging that hold on, you know, I'm not the big guy here. It's really God, and he should be the one ruling over you. And this is in Judges, so it should be before the time when Israel had kings. So they hadn't started actually having a king over them yet. Then Gideon said to them, this is verse 24, then Gideon said to them, I would like to make a request of you. This is the part. That each of you would give me the earrings from his plunder, because they had gotten a whole bunch of stuff from what they just did, or I should say what God just did for them. For they had golden earrings because they, meaning the people that were defeated, were Ishmaelites. So they answered, we will gladly give them. And they spread out a garment, and each man threw into it the earrings from his plunder. Now the weight of the gold earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, and you guys probably have no idea what a measurement of shekel is. I would like to actually look into that more myself, because you know, like we're used to our current measurements, gallons, or maybe even meters, feet, inches. But there's all these interesting measurements from biblical times as well. Okay, so 700 shekels of gold, besides the crescent ornaments, pendants, and purple robes, which were on the kings of Midian, and besides the chains that were around the camels' necks. Then Gideon made it into an ephod, and in case you don't know what an ephod is, because you might not know, you're like, what is that Bible word? That was something that the priests wore, the Levites, the priests. Okay, so then Gideon made it into an ephod and set it up in his city, o- Ophrah. And all Israel played the harlot with it there. Oops. There's the oops, right? So like instead of this isn't like a priest garment that a priest is actually wearing to perform the sacrifices before God. Instead, it becomes in itself an idol that they worship this garment that was made. I was like, what? What are you guys thinking? Oh, whoops. Okay, it became a snare to Gideon and his house. So he started out, with this amazing victory that God gave, but then he's like, no, no, I'm not going to rule over you. But guess what? Now I'm still going to ask you to do this foolish thing for me, and it will become a snare. It's going to be trouble for me. Uh-oh. Thus Midian was subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted their heads no more. And the country was quiet for 40 years in the days of Gideon. So at least the people didn't have to go fight anymore. Not that they exactly fought in the first place, but that trouble did not come back around to them. But then they had another problem. Okay, so I don't know if you guys got anything out of that random Bible reading. Da-da-da. But anyway, I think those are a lot of fun, and who knows, maybe that was even something that spoke to you, that when you heard it you think, oh, actually, yeah, okay, right? Like somebody might be doing something where it's like this part is correct, but then another part of it is not correct. Just like I could be making this painting here, and then part of it might be working, but another part might be terrible. Might be. Right? Just as an example. I haven't gotten very far in it yet, so, we can't say if this painting is totally working out. Okay, but I'm going to keep working on it, and that will be the end of this video so that I don't make it too long. Oh, I am so dark because you cannot see me due to the lighting. Okay, there you can see me. All right, bye.